Welcome back to my channel. I am setting up for May, which, as you already probably noticed, this is different for me. I am moving into a new bullet journal, and I have a setup for my new bullet journal video coming out very soon. But with the change to the new bullet journal and with Beltane lining up on May 1st, I did decide, given how busy things have been in my life, to go ahead and transition to having a monthly and then setting up sort of like a collection for my Sabbats, and then still setting goals within those, but not replacing my monthly with that. At this time, I also think that I am going to be moving to a weekly. That's actually a week, but using the moon phases to set my goals. I have not fully decided on that. For now, I did just set up through the very beginning of May. But let's talk about what I'm doing. So I started lettering with my Artist Loft watercolor brush. It's the P7 is what I call my color. And then I added in flowers, or my leaves, just with Witchy gel pen and a Tombow Twintone, the fine nib for that. So here I am setting up my calendar portion, doing the days down the middle as I have in the past, with the little calendar on the left. I really have enjoyed having that for this last half of Ostara. By putting the calendar in the middle, it gives me the opportunity to use multiple lines, which I really love. On the right hand side, I have a goals page. I won't fill out my goals here, but in part because I'll actually base some of my monthly goals off of the goals I set at Beltane. And now I am setting up my tarot, mood, and like exercise note tracker. So I am doing this like I did last month with the card. 2 spaces for the number, 1 space for the suit, 1 space for whether or not it's reversed. And then on the far left of the page, I'm doing the dates because I am adding in a very small habit tracker, just a few habits to track for May. I'm starting with 3. I have room to add a 4th if I want. I'm going to start with 3. And now I am working on my cleaning circle. As in the past, I've gone in and penciled first with my circle maker, just drew line markers for every 10 degrees, and then worked around to kind of pencil in what suits my needs. I messed up here and gave myself more spaces than I need for the weeks of May, but that's okay, just a little more flexible. As in previous months, I am using the marker portion of the Tombow Twintone to get some darker lines and just some distinction going on in this circle. Then I'm using my gray Tombow to line so I can kind of see the days as I'm going across, and that, like everywhere I've used gray recently, is in 75. Putting my key for my moods up at the top. And then I'll cut away while I erase so that the camera doesn't shake like crazy, which, is always appreciated, I feel like. Here I am going in with a zebra mild liner and putting in some of my headings. I'll do some with the zebra mild liners and some with my Artist Loft dual brush watercolor markers. I didn't end up having a super awesome color theme clearly coming across this month, but I am using that very light purple, darker purple, sort of burnt yellow, a dark blue, and then a grayish blue. The grayish blue and the yellow are mild liners, which is taking some readjustment to. And here I'm adding in this heading for those extra tasks I add in later down at the end of the month. So this month I had actually been thinking about doing a mermaid theme because of mermaid, and I didn't think I could commit to actually drawing a mermaid every day, but then I could have the theme, my bullet journal. But as I was working with this new journal, I found that the paper quality is not as good as I'd hoped, and so it can't really take multiple layers of marker. And I think there's no way it's going to take any sort of watercolor. I haven't decided what that means for the future of this journal, but for now it means that I am doing a much simpler theme than I had originally planned. Okay, so this gets into the part where I am trying something very new for me. Inspired by the Dutch tour and the sort of cutout thing, I had the idea to have my habit tracker in such a way that I could do a cutout for it and see the days that I needed for each week of the tracker while I was just on my weekly spread. So you see that's what I've done there. Very pleased with myself. As it's just those first 4 days that I'm treating as a weekly here in May. You see I'm counting out my number of lines so that I can, well, I was actually hoping I could do my calendar there, but it wouldn't fit. Eventually I will count out those lines and do them on the opposite side as I am planning ahead, because I remember that I'll need to be able to have that space to cut out. The long and short of this is I go through and I set this up and I make a mistake. And I make a pretty big mistake. And I have a cool way of fixing it that I've kept in, or that I've tried to fix it, that I've kept in to show you. But yeah, we'll get to how I actually fix it in a minute. At this point, Melville Kitty comes up on the table to tell me that I have made a mistake, and he sits there and he keeps like reaching at the area I've messed up. I think he was probably reaching at it because I was touching the notebook and he wanted to touch it too. But yeah, he tried very hard to point out to me that I had messed up. And here I finally realized that I've messed up and that to achieve my goal I needed that section to be cut out all the way down, even though I don't need to see those this week. So I'm getting a hard surface to put under, and then I'm opening my very cool tool. It is called it's a Tim Holtz Tonic Studios perforator tool. So you roll it down like you would roll down a rotary blade, but the blade is skipped in places, so it just turns it into a perforated page. So there I was showing, okay, I could just fold that over, that would be okay. I'm going ahead and cutting out the next page so I don't mess up by accident, marking the next page, you know, making my good plans. And as I'm flipping back through, I realize I really hate that spread. I don't want to see it. So the first time ever, I glued together 2 pages in my bullet journal, which worked out well. As I said, I wasn't happy with the spread, and I got to practice tearing out a perforated strip. Also, the cleaning tracker circle bled through pretty badly, so I was glad to not have that behind my weekly. I know it's a small aesthetic thing, but it did really help. One thing I have noticed so far is that if I let the first layer of marker dry before I put on another layer to do shading, like with the yellow, how I've been doing at least 2 or even 3 layers, if I let it dry in between, it wasn't bleeding through as much. So that's why you see me, you know, wait in between there. Also, I'm sorry for the cropped angle. I thought that the camera was down lower. Here I make the other mistake on the spread that I leave. I normally leave a space between my days and my little lines to mark my columns, but I forgot for one of the columns. And I also didn't end my columns at the same length. Awesome, so I'm going to show you the whole setup, including my Beltane setup that I forgot to record. I was starting to pencil it in and just started jumping in with markers before I thought. So let's see. Here we go. So for Beltane, like I mentioned earlier, I'm shifting up how I'm laying things out a little, but my title over here, and I have space for notes or a tarot spread on the right side. Excuse the Morgan. I have space for my Beltane goals, and then my summary page. So this is where I will pull things from however long the seasons last and summarize it here. Like with a star, it still has most common tarot, most common mood, things I noticed, and then just slightly different phrasing. So feed this fire, or like continue on this path, and let this ash, so let this die out. We move into May. As you've noticed here, pretty disappointed that these markers are bleeding through more than they did on the test pages. Anyway, so May, and then we go into my calendar, divided on either side so I can kind of give myself more than a single line to write for each day. And then my little overview calendar with goals. I have them divided into the 3 sections, and the space at the bottom, I mean, my list certainly isn't going to go that full length, but that space at the bottom will either give me room for another section if I decide I need that, or notes about what was going on, or I definitely have mentioned in the past that sometimes when I'm doing these setup videos, I don't know that on May 1st I'm going to decide I really need to add in this one thing, and so I can add a little tracker down there if I need to. So this is my page of much consternation at first. So I do have this tarot mood and note or exercise tracker is the same as always, except that I do have the moons on the side and then a habit tracker. Again, not had a habit tracker in a while, and I wanted to try, which caused a lot of struggle, a cutout so that I could see my habit tracker every day while I was working on it. And I have this neat idea for staggering what I see each week, so we'll see how that plays out. again, I have my same cleaning spread. I did mess up this and give myself 5 spaces, but since I am including the first, like, anyway, I don't need a full 5 spaces. I'm gonna flip back to May so this makes sense. I have these 3 days in April and then these 4 days in May. And during these 3 days, I still have to do some of these things anyway. So, like changing sheets. So I don't actually need 5 for that. And then this moves to my first weekly. I like this so much better than the first one I set up. And as you can see there, I'll be able to access that from here on my task. And then I'll have my dailies here. And then I have not cut out this, but I have penciled it so that depending on how much space I need for each daily, I cut the right amount. So thanks for watching with me and your patience with this longer video as I try out something new. I hope that you have had fun setting up your own planner and are looking forward to May. Thanks.